What's up, party people? Today, we'll be doing a postmortem on Uncovered. Hey guys, just a reminder that a postmortem is not about the project being bad or whatever, or me hating myself or anyone on my team. It's just about dissecting a project and figuring out what's good, what's bad, what can keep, what can't be, what did we learn, basically. It's about what we learned, alright? Alright, on with the video. The game that me and a couple friends created for the Cultural Heritage Jam. In a bit, though, I'm gonna go through the actual game and do a playthrough, and then lightly discuss some of the decisions we made lightly, because I have more things to discuss later on. And then I'll go over the full discussion in more detail and show some of our documents and whatnot. Before we do, I want to briefly talk about the game's relevance to culture, just in case it wasn't super obvious. Alright, hey guys, we're recording this bit because it sounded a bit jumbly, but essentially, our goal was to highlight the family and the culture behind family, and that sometimes the things we get from them is important to us, obviously. Like, that not all artifacts are things made 1,000 years ago, right? Our cloak in our game is meant to be something that your brothers pass down to you, and it's in danger of being taken by other people, right? So it doesn't come across that way in the game because they didn't have time to implement a lot of story or tutorial for that matter. But there you go. That's our cultural relevancy. If you didn't read the game's description. But yeah, no. All right, on to the rest of the video. You know, it happens. Let's go ahead and just get started. Let's go ahead and start the game. As you can tell, this is a little backstory we put together, but we didn't want to put it in text. Oh, I love the music. Like, I love the music that, oh yeah, this is supposed to be hinting about the headphones, right? And then this is supposed to be a reflection on his brother, who's at the top right corner, wearing the same cape. Alright. Our first enemy. And then we can shift to attack. She's referencing the powers, but obviously we want to keep her a little vague. She's supposed to be someone who give you like general hints and stuff, but as you probably guessed, we didn't exactly have a whole bunch of time on our hands. Each of these specters is supposed to be someone that some powers have either killed or dealt with in some way, shape, or form. Alright, so oh Jesus. So our first default attack is like a dash that you can kind of cancel a little bit. Oh jeez. That you can kind of cancel. Of course we can't move while we're healing. Probably should have made healing a resource, but we didn't really have time. Or we had the time we had, we used mostly for well, I'll get into that later details and stuff. But yeah, we really wanted to do kind of a Mega Man ZX, Mega Man X kind of deal, where we had multiple levels in between the default level and the boss level. But of course we didn't have time to do a bunch of levels because we had a lot of technical issues, but again, I'll talk about that later. Alright, so this is our first boss, the Philanthropist. So he's got his little boss health bar at the top left. He's got a small cutscene to open, and we have to kill the real one, which doesn't explode into a bunch of different pieces. And of course you can't really tell at first which one he is. And of course they will do lots of damage. Purely because they've got a lot of things going on there. Cool. And we hit him again. I think he's actually the harder of the two. The thing is, they were kind of designed to have kind of like the Mega Man style, like, how do I say this? The Mega Man style, if you defeat one, their outfit will help you defeat another one. But unfortunately, that didn't really work out super well, purely because, like I said, I didn't have time to balance and do a lot of the things that would attribute to that. So he's dead. We now get this costume, which is like the attack upward and then attack downward. Oh Jesus! Of course, it doesn't help. It doesn't actually help us get out, which is maybe a bit of an oversight.
Yeah.
But oh god. Yeah. A couple of the things are still kind of wonky, and I feel bad for that because A, was my responsibility to make sure they weren't wonky, but oh god, we kind of have a. It's funny because that's a lot more difficult to get out of than to get into, like significantly harder because now you have the screen to contend with, and it's kind of, I don't know, maybe this is a shortcoming of Cinemachine tracking, right? That the screen doesn't really travel with the character all that much. I think the best way. There we go. Alright, cool. I should do this out. Yeah. Alright. And of course, we gotta go up here. See, like, I like the idea of some of the options. I think in execution they weren't particularly, like I said, that's most, I think that's a lot of that's on how we decided to do physics, and that's on me. I'm gonna see if, oh, okay, it didn't do that. Okay, that's interesting. That means that the way down doesn't work, so you kind of have to kill the mayor second, because apparently there's no way down anymore. We were up to like, I think an hour into the hour before the jam was supposed to be over, just doing testing, and I think that just might have been an oversight on my end. Okay, so here we go. We do the mayor now. His little intro. Yeah. He has these pillars. They spawn from the ground. I think for both of the bosses, a lot of the music just didn't end up working because we had some problems with wise. Oh jeez. Aw jeez, Rick. Aw jeez. Yeah. Oh, okay, good. That was close. Interesting. This is not something I ever thought I'd find myself. This is an interesting bug. Never had this before. But yeah, essentially the game is basically over once you've killed him because there's not much else to do. So let's go ahead and leave. Allow access. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the actual postmortem about the rest of the stuff. Sync. Okay. So alright. So I know right off the bat you could probably have told that the game didn't seem super decorated and there seemed to be a lot of wonky like control feel. That's definitely not by design. It was kind of the first jam for a few members of our team, and so we kind of had to learn a bit. We had to do some of them had to do a bit of learning, and so didn't have quite the full 2 weeks to take advantage of. But that's obvious. A, no shade given, and B, completely understandable, right? The designs were made, a lot of especially for the game, like the actual artwork and music, the designs were made and even implemented in some of the scenes, but we had a couple technical issues, and so some of them ended up being removed by by GitHub. I'll get into that in a second. And before I move on, of course, most of the technical problems, like I said, were caused by our the management of our repo, which, I mean, if you'd like to look at our code, you know, here's our repo right here, Project Chance. It should be under here. I'll link it in the description below. So I think that being said, I think I'll start the critique here at the code itself. The programming was my responsibility, mainly. So even though I correctly judged the size of the project, I didn't scale the code accordingly, right? Like there's a lot of things in the project I could have set up a little better myself. So even though there seems to be a lot of classes here, there really aren't. And then of course the player itself ended up becoming this like demigod class almost, right? Look at all this stuff. The player should never be like almost 300 lines long, even if some of those are just enable, disable, and on draw gizmo, right? Like the player should never be this big of a class, and that's on me. A lot of that is on me. There should have been split into multiple classes to do multiple different things, and that's kind of like I said, it's on me. It took, and honestly, I think one of the bigger issues that took a lot of time was the actual wall jump itself. This right here took a couple days to get at least functional, because of how I set up movement and and the organization of the actual player class. So there's a lot of on that that's kind of on me. That's not kind of on me. That is on me. That being said, the way we set the game up, like our actual bases, like our primary loop, I think is really good. Like I think the idea of it functions really well. But the execution could have been a little better. Like I said earlier, we took inspiration from like OG Mega Man, Mega Man ZX, Mega Man X, and we wanted to make multiple scenes or levels with scenes in between the bosses, that you could trek through and fight the bosses. And that being said, I feel like if we took a second crack at it, we would actually be able to do it fairly well. Like I think our team is very insanely intelligent. Like I feel like we learned a lot from this, and that means that we would be able to correct a lot of our mistakes really easily, especially when it came to the code. Wise was also another issue that we had, and with Wise, none of us were used to implementation of Wise, and so we ended up having stuff like this right here that ended up super buggy for some reason when we started, and a lot of the implementation for Wise ended up being just really, really strange. But yeah, no. Secondly, let's talk about art, presentation. We gotta, I just want to before I even get into that, I just want to shout out to how organized a lot of our team was. Look at this. This is all the stuff that, this is all the stuff Wayne worked on or talked about. And then, Ham working on all of these assets, including the opening cutscene, closing cutscene that we didn't even use. All right, like I feel bad that we weren't able to put all of the things that they made into the game because of technical issues, right? Like look at these sprite sheets that Ham made. Like look at this. This is the alternate costumes, right? They're all separate sprites. And we had to, we put the I'm the one that put the animation together, but I didn't have to do all of this work, you know what I'm saying? Like there's he even made different he made the same hearts here, the color of the animation is different. The philanthropist the philanthropist and the mayor have animations, but we weren't able to implement them in time, right? We even had a secret boss we wanted to implement, but again, didn't have time because of technical issues. And of course, the audio list that Wayne worked on is massive, right? Look at all of this. He put most of it together already. That's the list of audio. I'm trying to think. I don't think we have available audio listed to on here, but if I do, I'm gonna put it in the background. But yeah, as you can tell, we also have a bunch of docs in general, like plot exposition, production roles. We have a start here document. That was kind of our initial document, and then of course we have the game design doc, we have our game loops doc. We have our last minute needs dot, which we use to what's the word? Crunch on. Those was our crunch dot. And then have a character list dot. We have all of these docs here. Even have a references doc here for some of the things that we wanted are here. Yeah, I can't say we weren't organized. I think that was just it happens. And of course, I almost forgot. I can't believe I almost did that, but obviously last one is John worked on a lot of these docs, right? John worked on the plot exposition doc here, and he did an amazing job with the UI of the game. As you can tell, it looks good. It looks great. And then, like I said, the plot exposition dialogue, look at all this work, man. Like, he's never done Unity before, and so like he did all of this stuff essentially on his own without prompting. Like, a lot of it is just really good. And like I said, like rough positioning of levels and dialogue. Like the game's dialogue, he wrote all of it. Implemented all of it. The start screen, with the exception of the introduction cutscene, he implemented that. Like, all that code is his. The UI code, that is. Now, and what I said about the project earlier about us, if we started over, I think that tracks here. Like, when you see the organization for everything, I think, really, honestly, a lot of our shortcomings came to two things. Our inexperience with the certain integration, like, specifically Wise, and to a minor extent GitHub, right? And not having a comprehensive GitHub strategy, right? And a lot of the programming, well, it came down to the GitHub strategy. I feel like some of it could have been refactored within a day, but the GitHub strategy prevented that, right? Like, because we would constantly run into merge conflicts that would break the game completely. In fact, in one instance, a merge conflict literally deleted one of I don't remember whose branch, but the entire game on their branch. The game itself was deleted on their branch. So we didn't have a complete, comprehensive GitHub strategy, and that kind of cost us a lot of time, I think. And then Wise itself is not bad. I think Wise itself actually contributed, like Wise and Wayne contributed a lot to the project, but Wise's implementation into Unity caused us a lot of problems, right? There were some things that we just couldn't fix on the Wise end without doing like hours of like research and just trial and error. And so you could tell with the mayor boss battle and the philanthropist boss battle that had the music, that even though we implemented music in almost every other scene and almost every other way, because of some code we couldn't, like, because of errors we couldn't understand or access, we had to shut that down because we just couldn't figure out why they weren't working. But yeah, no, it's kind of funny because usually the problem for our project is scope. I actually think we didn't have a problem with scope this time. Like, I think our scope was fine, but the issues we had on 2 or 3 different fronts kind of came in at the last moment and kept us from doing a lot of the finishing touches that we really wanted to do. And I think the game itself probably would have been very good. Like, I feel like a game like this could be insanely fun. Like, it'd be difficult to grasp. You know, it already has amazing sound. We have a story worked out already. And I think this is one of those games that doesn't have a lot of fluff in it, right? So we kind of get straight to the point of the gameplay and aren't trying to hold the player back from being able to experience the game too much. So it gets right to the point, very quick, very fast action. With the exception of some things that need to be balanced. Very fast action. Yeah. GitHub, why'd you do it to us, man? It's not, obviously, like I said, it's not all GitHub. Like I said, this it's really, I think, at least for player feel, I think this is a little bit of a shortcoming, but I think that's easily refactored. Like, I don't think that a lot of this stuff really needs to be redone. But yeah, that being said, thanks for watching, and hope you have a great day. Peace.